Q's, Desdemona, and yours truly, Latunji, and more. Plus, we'll have a special appearance from WCCO's Shayla Reeves, and we have special vendor rates for anyone looking to help their business or nonprofit gain more visibility. For more info on that, 612-382-2021. That's the 5-year anniversary of Latunji's Palette and the Elliott Park Block Party, Saturday, August 12th from noon to 5. Details at latunjispalette.com.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. Weekly correspondents like Dr. Stately, State Senator Mary Kunesh, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake update us with the latest news from Turtle Island. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Listen weekdays at 5 p.m. or watch the show on Native Roots Radio social media accounts. Ho-wah!
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for showers and storms tonight with a low around 66. Friday, more thunderstorms with a high near 85. And Saturday, sunny with a high around 82. Scotch Mama's offers a huge taste out of a little place. Besides their delicious barbecue, they have potato salad, spicy baked beans, twice-baked potatoes, and delicious desserts. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Find their menu and more at scotchamamas.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
And this is Ghostbox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakken, and thank you very much for joining me tonight. In case you didn't see any of my posts that I put out there, unfortunately tonight we do not have Robert Robinson. We were going to talk cryptids with him tonight. We're going to talk about Loch Ness Monster and some other stuff. He is unable to make it tonight, but at the same time, we're hoping to get him on tomorrow, and that will be great. And if we can't get him on tomorrow, we'll get him on some other day. It's quite all right. But so we're not going to be able to have him on the program tonight, but that's okay. We will be able to figure it out and get him on at some other point. But the news here, of course, Adam, is that last night we were able to see the advanced screening of The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which that was a lot of fun last night.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, for a movie like that, I would actually use the term fun.
Yeah.
And it kept moving the entire time. I dug it, and I'm not a big movie guy. But I definitely dug the flick. Definitely worth dropping the money to see it in theaters. You definitely need that experience for that. So much cool. It's so cooler.
There was a lot of breadth and scope to the cinematography of the film.
It was sure. Shot so beautifully.
Yeah.
The acting was fantastic. And the only actor I'd actually had ever seen before was the individual who played the captain.
Where have you seen him before? Because I'm trying to place him.
I've seen him in a few like TV movie episodes of stuff, and I'm having a hard time placing his name, but I know I have seen him on several things like Law and Order. I know he'd been on there.
Oh, wow.
God, and I can't remember the other place where I remember seeing him, but it's like, oh, I know who that guy is. But that was the only actor I'd ever seen before. But the cast that they assembled for the Demeter movie, it was really good and very believable.
It was really nice. And there's a lot that, like you said, kept the interest going. And as you also said, didn't slow down. There wasn't any point where you're just like, come on, get on with it. It once it started a pace, it kind of kept going throughout.
Exactly. And to me, that helped and hindered, because that last 30 minutes of the movie, I really needed to go to the bathroom, but there was no ebb in that movie. It flowed the entire time to where it's like, okay, I can get up, miss a couple of minutes, and come back. There was no missing any couple of minutes.
What I strategically did, and I did it at the right time, because this kind of fell apart over time. I don't think I'm giving any spoilers away when I say this, because it's a film about Dracula. I waited until the scenes were happening in the daylight. And I'm like, okay, that's when I can go off and use the restroom, because he's not going to be there. Now, as you know, as seeing the film, there are some significant things that happen during the daylight, but I went before that really started to ramp up. So I did it correctly.
Okay, yeah, because there is one plot point that totally hits during the daylight.
Absolutely.
And as soon as you hear that, you're like, everything kind of clicks. And that's probably about the 45, 50-minute mark into the movie.
Yeah.
And at one point, to me, it becomes less of a horror movie as it becomes more of a strategic thriller for the crew of the ship.
Yeah.
And it kept you guessing, even though, a lot of people who know Bram Stoker's story kind of know what happens. You do, but you don't.
Yeah.
And I suggest go and see this flick. It was a blast.
I really like those like in-universe sort of deeper dives into what we already know about certain established stories and whatnot. And this does it. It tries to be, I think, fairly accurate to what's in the book, but what's in the book isn't necessarily, 2.5 hours long, 2.5 hours long. So, I mean, they do have some creative freedom to do something with it. And I think they do a good job with it. And no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I think they totally knocked it out of the park. And a big thanks to not only this show, AM 950, the Rosedale Theaters for hosting last night.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. And that's the first time I've ever been to one of those pre-screenings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, first time ever. And I had been in radio for a while, but I never.
But just at the wrong stations, apparently.
No, right stations, wrong shifts.
Okay, fair enough.
I've always been kind of crammed into the overnight guy.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, no, it was really good. And so we were talking about the last voyage of the Demeter. It opens actually tomorrow nationwide. So definitely, if you like this sort of stuff, if you like to have, and I would say that for me, it was the right amount of scare. It wasn't like, I mean, I don't want to be, just trembling in my seat personally. It was the right amount of suspense and scare for me.
The suspense to me harkened back to kind of the old Universal Monster.
Yeah.
And, unlike in the Universal Monster movies where basically you'd have the hand on the shoulder, then it cuts away.
Yeah.
You would see what happens in this, but the suspense leading up to the action point really harkened back to those old Bela Lugosi flicks that I absolutely loved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're getting into October here. Well, in about a month and a half, but still, that's when I always pull out those films. Without a doubt, those and the Hammer films with Christopher Lee as Dracula. I definitely always make it a point to watch those. And now I have the 4K set for the Universal films, at least the main ones. And I'm going to have a friend of mine. I haven't asked him yet, but he does a podcast called the Frankenstein Minute. And it's all about those early Universal Frankenstein films. And in October, I'm going to see if he wants to come on and talk about these films, because they are important. They are the cornerstone for what we have for horror films now. But as time goes on, how many people are still how many new audiences are we getting for that? I don't know. I'm not saying it's bad or it's good. I don't know, but it'll be fun to talk about it.
That's one thing. It's you try to set, and I don't want to come off sounding like an old bitter man.
Too late.
But I'm gonna. You set a younger audience down to some of those older flicks, and they're like, why isn't this in color? Why didn't they use a cell phone? What's a phone booth? And you're just like, it's where Superman used to change his clothes. No, but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, let's update them, But then when you update them, it really takes a lot of the mystique out of it. Because one of the things I'm thinking about last night, trying to go to sleep, by the way, for those of you who do listen to the podcast, it was a lights on night. As I'm laying there.
What did it take? I mean, God, are you that scared of everything?
Gore gets me.
Yes, I get that. I get that.
The older I've gotten, the less I enjoy gore, violence, unless it's like out of a comic book or a cartoon. This, though, there was a bit of gore, but it's so fantasy that it didn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely was a lights on night. But, you know, I'm laying there trying to fall asleep, but still thinking. And this is what the Voyage of the Last Meter did. It made me think.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind kind of went to, how could Dracula actually get around in today's society? He doesn't show up on an image, right? You can't videotape Dracula. You can't take his photo. How does the man get an ID? How do you get around anywhere at this point? How would he even feed at this juncture or lead the kind of life that, you know, Dracula, as we know, in 1897, when this movie takes place, it lead that kind of life.
Yeah.
That's where it took me last night. So the film also, you end up thinking more about the aftermath of the flick, because where it leaves off, I don't know if there's going to be a sequel, but where it leads off, it's kind of like, okay, you can do something else with this. And I'm kind of excited to see if they do something else with it.
What I was thinking about was how audience react to, say, Frankenstein in 1931, which was there is the scene when we first see the monster and he backs into the cell. He's walking backwards into the cell and he turns around. And that's the first time that people see on film the Frankenstein monster, full face and everything. Yeah. And reported at the time that people had fainted in the audience when they saw him. Now it makes you think, what would have happened? Like, thank goodness that there wasn't gore in those films back then.
Right.
You know, I mean, it just how we are, is the right word, desensitized to this stuff. Where, I mean, any gore, you and I are kind of in the same boat. Rather not see it, but you know, it's there. But I mean, and that's partially why I like these old films, because they are they first of all, a wonderful look at how film was made, and Dracula in particular plays like a silent film. Mm-hmm. With that, just, I mean, it is brand new to pretty new to sound, but those are the things that I really like. But you get something like this, and it's like, they're both Universal films, and to see where we've gone from and where we're going to, and what if this actually opens up a whole new era of reimagined Universal monster films, which I think would be fantastic.
Wow, you know, I never thought about that, because, oh my God, a Frankenstein with today's technology would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But the one thing I never got about the Universal monsters,
mm-hmm.
why was Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, a Universal monster? It wasn't a monster. He was deformed.
Yeah, I think what ended up happening was that they kind of lumped them all in because the Quasimodo is from 1925.
Right.
Same with Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is not a monster either.
That's right. Yeah, they do lump him.
They lump him in as well.
Yeah.
And you know, I think also they're both Lon Chaney.
Yeah.
So I think that just is name recognition as well that they put it to it. If London After Midnight still existed, well, that's MGM actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if London After Midnight existed, that would still also probably be up there, even though not part of Universal. People would probably just lump them in anyway. Yeah,
that makes sense. And yeah, I never really thought Lon Chaney playing both is why they would lump it in. But yeah, that makes total sense.
Well, and he was he? I'm trying to think if he was pegged for Dracula at one point, but then he died. So, you know, it's just interesting how you have these names that was like, what would have been like if Lon Chaney was actually like Dracula. And at one point, Bela Lugosi was tipped for being Frankenstein as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, he does play Frankenstein. I think in no, not Ghost of Frankenstein. One of the other ones. There's a lot of them to kind of get confused over. But yeah, it's really interesting. And then of course, last night, ran into Mr. Dave Schrader, who is going to be on the show on Monday. He asked if he could be on the show Monday because we're going to promote our event the next week for the Anderson House. He's like, can I come on the show? And I'm like, I suppose if you think it's going to help your career, yeah, we can let you on, I guess.
He's got such moxie. I'm really rooting for that kid.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll make something of himself. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll ask him if he ever thought about doing this sort of thing full time.
Yeah, no kidding. But you may have wrangled me into coming in on Monday night.
Look at that. It just and any other guests who have been on Monday through Wednesday, don't take offense that he didn't change his life plans. Adam didn't change his life plans to come in when you were on the show. Well. My goodness. I mean, yeah, no, it'll be a good program. You could have met him last night if you weren't like sitting in the front row of the theater. Well, who does that?
My vision sucks.
Oh.
Hence why I have no license. I can't pass the eye exam, so I need to be as close as possible.
I mean, not to rip on you. It was a fairly big screen.
Oh, it was a huge screen, much bigger. But also when we got in there, it was also kind of dark, and it's like, yeah, we don't want to sit around this many people because that second tier where you were apparently
the VIPs, yeah.
Yeah, because you're an important person.
a very important person.
Yeah, I'm also the P at the end, but very important peons. I sat down in the second row and peeped it out from there, and yeah, so good. And I really wish I would have hung around a little bit longer to see if you actually was able to make it last night.
Yeah, well, you could have texted, and I could have texted you too, funny enough.
I could have, but that's so rude to do in a theater.
Well, where are you?
2 seats behind you.
I see you. Ernie Pack, who has been on this program, we've erased those episodes, but Ernie, who's been on the program, said, I noticed Adam wasn't on when I've been a guest.
No, that is not true.
Well,
I have been the board op a couple of times.
For the old week show, the weekend show, not the new and improved nightly nightly installment of Ghostbox Radio, triumphantly Monday through Friday, trying to forge its way on a political radio station. That's
we can do it. We can make it.
We're doing our best.
We'll bring
here
the ghost of John F. Kennedy in next, and then that way we're totally in there.
Well, and that's interesting that you say that, because I was going to my question of the week, but I was going to do it tomorrow, and there just wasn't time to do it tonight. Was, have you ever think that you've experienced a spiritual communication from a spirit that might have been famous? And I want to play one for you that I'll play it in the next segment. Spirit box occurring. I don't know if you ever heard my response from Mary Todd Lincoln.
No, you haven't played that for me.
So we'll play that, and Ernie also says exactly regarding about you. He did the old show back before you hit the big time, thanks to me. Well, I don't know what big time means to him, because this ain't it. Why don't we do this, as we're getting time taken away from us here? Let's take our first break. When we come back, I'm going to play some evidence that I got. And we also want to talk about Olivia Newton-John and how she appears to her family still. And there's other things to talk about. So let's take our break. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood restaurant in the Whittier neighborhood at 26th and Lindale. Nightingale has patio, dining room, and bar seating available. Plus, they still have takeout and delivery. Their menu has lots of delicious options like the famous Nightingale burger and fries, ginger tamari chicken wings, smoked chicken liver pate, and more. They're open from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. daily with their full menu until midnight. So make the friendly neighborhood Nightingale your go-to restaurant in South Minneapolis. Place an order, make a reservation, and more at nightingalempls.com.
This is Elizabeth, the host of Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth. Each week, our show explores higher consciousness and pathways to freedom with heart-centered thought leaders. We shine a light on your brilliance, what you pay attention to, and how that has supported your process of becoming free from the heavier issues that affect you. There are many pathways to sovereignty. Join us each week as we explore your sovereignty and consider what's your pathway to becoming free. That's Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth, Sundays at 11 a.m. or anytime on your favorite podcast app.
Hi, this is Laura, tuned to Food Freedom Radio this Saturday at 8 a.m. We're going to be talking with the founders of Clo Vegan Foods. After spending years dealing with the special dietary needs of their daughters, a local Minnesota couple decided to create a frozen pizza brand that is free of dairy, gluten, and meat products. Yes, a simple frozen pizza that's better for your health, economical, and better for the planet. Learn more about Clo Vegan Foods and tune to Food Freedom Radio this Saturday at 8 a.m. or go to their website, cloveganfoods.com.
One of the things I really like to do is I like to support my friends. I like to support the people who support me, and I've been very lucky, actually, with a number of friends who support me in a lot of different ways, whether it's just with good energy or just with just being my friend. And a friend of mine, Brad Webb, he makes a lot of pretty cool paranormal equipment. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because he finally has a store on Etsy. It's called Crack Skull Para. And right now, if you go over to Crack Skull Para on Etsy and put in Ghostbox Radio as a promo code, you get 10% off your order. And that is very worth noting because, first of all, the equipment is already pretty inexpensive. And he makes it himself, and it works. I've been using his equipment for well over nearly 2 years, I think. And this is really fun, especially if you are getting into paranormal investigating, or if you're just trying to find ways to have good equipment and maybe have multiple equipment, something that you could give to your team or whatever else. Really, please just go over to Etsy.com. Check out Crack Skull Para, all one word. And if you buy anything over there, and there's a lot of REM pods over here, a lot of good things over here, put in the promo code Ghostbox Radio, get 10% off, and it will be really, you'll enjoy it. You'll like it, and I think he'll probably be adding more. So definitely check it out. You know, Adam, if you are ever looking at getting stuff, I mean, that's the place to go to. Very inexpensive.
Well, I can definitely go there. And what's the name again?
Cracked Skull Para.
And the code?
Ghostbox Radio.
And that's 10% off.
You've really been doing a good job listening today. Yes.
I'm just very happy we're not like most other radio shows and podcasts. We're not talking about Blue Chew.
No, no, we're not.
This is useful, at least. Well, the other one probably is as I get a little bit older and you get a little bit older. But this one, Cracked Pot Para?
You weren't listening.
No.
Cracked Skull Para.
No, I'm the crackpot.
You're the crackpot. He's Cracked Skull.
Cracked Skull Para. Okay, definitely. Yes, I will definitely check that out. And actually, I'm going to save that down right now.
Yeah, and I can send you the Ghostbox Radio link as well for that.
Are you going to have a link on the Ghostbox website too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And where can they go for that?
Oh my God, what is going on with you? It would go over to ghostboxradio.com. We'll put that up there.
Promotions, man.
Yeah, you're all about it. And Ernie says Brad makes great equipment and keeps his prices rock bottom, and that is very true. So I mean, it's just, I'm glad to see that he's finally putting a store together. So I had mentioned that I'm going to ask this again down the line to people, but I was going to ask tonight whether or not, and anyone have ever had like spirit communication from a celebrity or a person that is well known, like a historical figure. So, and I played this on the show before, but not, prior to Adam being a part of the massive body that's known as AM 950 radio. And so what happened, when I was doing live spirit box sessions, I decided I wanted to see if I could reach out to Abraham Lincoln, as one does. And the reason why is I had seen this documentary about Lincoln on Discovery Plus. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's the last photo of Lincoln. Really good. Really good. It's all about what I think there's like only 131 pictures of Lincoln that exist.
Yeah, and only a couple of them were actually good photos.
Right, exactly. And the thing is like someone found a picture of what they believe is Lincoln on his deathbed, like he's already dead.
Oh, wow.
And so, and it was a detective, almost like a detective program about how, and we've had her on, who the executive producer, and she was the host of it, and she walked through about the work that they did. It's still hotly contested. But I was doing these Sunday night spirit box sessions, and I thought, what if I could ask Abraham Lincoln whether or not this is real or not? And so before it started, and, for those of you who are on the border, whether or not you believe that spirits can reach out to us and talk to us, this might get a little deep for you. But next to me, I always had a flashlight. And before the show started, before the live started, I said, President Lincoln, I'd like to have permission to speak with you tonight. And it's going to be in front of a lot of people, like virtually. Mm-hmm. There are going to be a lot of people watching us. And I point to the screen. On this screen, would you talk with me tonight? And the flashlight turns on.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And I'm just like, this is great. And this is not even when the program's even on yet. And I said, President Lincoln, may I also ask Mary Todd Lincoln a question too? And flashlight comes back on again. And so the show starts, the live starts, and I have the spirit box going, and I was like, President Lincoln, and I put that picture up on screen. I said, what I'm pointing to right now, is this you? And this man's voice comes through, and he says, yes. And it was, and my chat room went crazy, just went crazy. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, swearing, all sorts of things. Mm. And so I am getting a little nervous by this. I'm getting a little overwhelmed because it's like, what is happening here? So I then, like, Mrs. Lincoln, and the question I wanted to ask Mrs. Lincoln was, when you were living, you spoke to the dead. Now that you're dead, do you speak to the living? But I got really nervous and I really mess up the question. And what you're going to hear is me messing up this question, and this exasperated woman comes in. Okay.
All right.
So let's, if it plays, let's check this out.
Mrs. Lincoln, you spent your entire life reaching out to spirits. Do you talk to other people? Do you talk to other people as a spirit, to other living people?
Talk about what?
Talk about what?
So you noticed something else when you listened to that too.
I thought I got two voices.
You did.
A male voice first.
You did.
And then the female voice.
So the male voice says, when I said, you used to speak, when you're living, you used to speak to dead, and you hear, I know.
Yeah. Okay. It was either I know or you know. But I got the no part. Yeah.
And that's the same voice we attributed to Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yep. And then you get this exasperated woman. It's like, talk about what?
Yes. Okay. That is okay. I thought that's what I heard, but okay. Yeah.
Yeah. She just is like, talk about what? I want to play that one more time.
Mrs. Lincoln, you spent your entire life reaching out to spirits. Do you talk to other people? Do you talk to other people as a spirit, to other living people?
Talk about what?
Talk about what?
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool.
Yeah. And that I haven't done Spirit Box in a while since I've had COVID. I've done it a couple times, but I've really backed off on it because I need to heal more before I start using some of this equipment again. But I miss this. I miss this so much.
So you have lent me. I've probably had one of your Spirit Boxes, an SB7, I think.
You have the. You have what is the name of it? I it's one I don't really care for, so that's why I let you use it.
But okay, so at one point, myself and my daughter just hanging out in our house. We're by ourselves.
Uh-oh.
My wife is off at Waverly hanging out with her dad, and this is shortly after my wife's mom had passed. So we've got this big secretary sitting in the living room. So my daughter and I put the Spirit Box on the secretary, and we kept, talking to or trying to speak to someone. And the reason I bring this up is because the secretary that we have was at one point, Michelle's, my mother-in-law, belonged in her family. And one of the owners of this secretary actually sketched Lincoln in front of Lincoln. She had a chance to sit down and draw him.
Wow.
We didn't get Michelle's voice, which was who we were trying to contact. But 2 times we got a male voice that said, I know this place.
Wow.
And
that's fantastic.
We almost wonder if you know this place because of the house, but we felt nothing else in the house. We've got nothing else in the house ever. Or if he's talking about that secretary that the Spirit Box was setting on, because that's easily where my wife's great aunt could have been sitting and sketching the picture.
Absolutely.
But it was a male voice, came through twice on 2 separate occasions. I know this place.
Wow.
So I figured I'd bring that up now since we were just talking about Lincoln.
I love it. Brad had said, I missed the Spirit Box sessions, my Sunday night Spirit Box sessions. It's nights like that were great. Danielle says it's the sculpture of Lincoln.
Yeah, the sculpture, not the sketch. Sorry. Not my family tree, but married into.
Got it. Tree. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to tell a story, Adams, tell it right. Okay.
Like I said, not my portion of the family.
We're going to get Danielle in here. She can tell the stories.
Yeah,
from
she
now
can
on.
tell it much better. Do you want to call? Our number is 952. Thanks, son.
We've embarrassed you in front of tens of people. So Brad had Brad also says, I do have a question for you, Greg. The energy change we felt when you did the Spirit Box session when we're out squatching, is that how the energy normally feels when you start a session up? Yes. And it really is. And once again, concepts that might be unfamiliar or uncomfortable for people. The idea of crossing over spirits to the other side. It's one of my specialties. And the energy that you get from that is unparalleled. It is literally like if you've ever watched like Doctor Who and you see him regenerate into another, it just feels like that's what that would feel like. Just it's like a whole new tingling. Everything it's all over you, and it's that's why it becomes very addictive, because it feels so good and you know that you're doing so much to help spirit. I mean, there's so many people who do these investigations. There's nothing wrong with it, but they do the investigations just because they want to go to a known location. They want to do certain things and just accept. I want to help spirit, or I want to help people who have spirit in their house. For those who do not know how to handle spirit. So it's one of those things that is, just really important, quite honestly, and I mean, Adam, when you got that, this place is whatever it was, this place familiar, I know, did you feel any energy shift at all?
Okay. So do you remember back in the day with like a Circuit City or Best Buy, Walmart, Kmart, whatever, where the box the box style TVs would be plugged in for demos.
Yeah.
And they'd have like 10, 15 of them, and you could feel the electromagnetic coming off of it.
Yeah.
That's the same feeling I got. You get it in the head, behind the eyes. It feels like you're just getting like a little electrical tingling running throughout your head. I got that feeling through both of the voices we got when we were doing that spirit box.
It's really it's pretty incredible. Now, I'm hoping, and not to put you on the spot, but I'm hoping that you are closing out sessions, that you are asking spirit to leave when you're done, especially doing it in your house.
Yes, and thanking them for their time.
Yeah.
And totally going, we respect you. But if you do not belong here and you're not actually a living member here, please exit the facilities.
Yeah.
As we exit this session. Thank you so very much. And always being humble.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they leave. I had John Wilkes Booth, and I know once again, and I always feel like I have to say this, that I'm sure people are like, oh, here we go again. Brought through John Wilkes Booth much later after the whole Lincoln thing, just to see if we could. Because I believe that you don't have to be in the location where they were to bring them forward. And this is the experiment. This is the great experiment for me. Can we do it? And so we started getting some interesting things. At the end, he would talk when we were talking about the theater, when we're talking about his acting. No responses when we talked about Lincoln. Nothing came through.
That would make sense, as much as he detested Lincoln, but he liked being on stage.
He loved himself.
Oh, absolutely.
He loved himself. But then at one point during the course of that evening, my shoulder started to hurt. Like there was some pressure on my shoulder and my back by my neck. And I looked afterwards and I was marked. And then he stuck around for about a week.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, he stuck around for about a week. You could just feel his energy. And that was a little nerve-wracking.
You didn't happen to, start, talking more about Lincoln, watching Lincoln-style movies or anything like that, just to egg him on?
No, I think he wanted to kind of be in my face for even daring to talk with him about that period.
Okay, I wasn't sure because you do go down history holes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if you were just like on a Lincoln kick, decided to do this, and then I'm gonna go watch the last days of Lincoln on TLC or something.
Go watch the Ken Burns Civil War,
right? Something like that, or Andersonville or something.
Yeah, nope. But it was really interesting. So if anyone wants to put into the chat anything that they've had, or if they want to call in, we have one more segment, 952-946-6205. The number is 952-946-6205. And we are going to take a break right now. When we come back, I have another question in the chat. We want to talk about Olivia Newton-John. I bet you never thought we'd say that on the show. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for showers and storms tonight with a low around 66. Friday, more thunderstorms with a high near 85. And Saturday, sunny with a high around 82. Scotch Mama's offers a huge taste out of a little place. Besides their delicious barbecue, they have potato salad, spicy baked beans, twice baked potatoes, and delicious desserts. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Find their menu and more at scotchamamas.com.
So tomorrow, if everything goes right, we are going to have Robert Robinson on. Like we said, unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight, and so we're going to move him to tomorrow. If he can't do it tomorrow, we'll reschedule him. It'll be fine. Monday, we're planning on having Dave Schrader on, and that will be an interesting conversation. We'll be talking about our event next week at the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota. We still have a few tickets left, and we'd like to sell them, to be honest. Let's just be very honest, and that is what it is. And then Tuesday, we are hoping to have on Gary Galka, he's the one that created such pieces of paranormal equipment like the Mel meter, the SP7 Spirit Box, all these great pieces that are used on a lot of the shows. He's coming out with the Spirit Box Pro. Obviously, that got my attention, so I'm gonna be talking with him Tuesday. If he's busy, he's always running around. So if it doesn't work out, we'll reschedule him as well. Also got word from the Enfield Devil House, I think it's the name of it. I've talked about this before. One of the scariest stories I've ever heard about demonic possession in a house that was built in 1771. You might want to, check the light bulbs in your house and make sure that they will stay on after listening to that one. So it's going to be great, but we're trying to figure out a date to get that on as well. Brad in the comments asked a question, and anyone who wants to join in our conversation, anything on your mind, 952-946-6205. We have about 12 minutes left before the show ends. Brad asked the question, have you ever had Adam listen to the voicemail?
Yeah, the first day we met.
That's how I say hi to people.
Because we were in here with another one of the engineers that run the board, and you finished the show, and I started gushing like a fanboy, being like, I'm totally into the paranormal, absolutely love it. The other guy here, it wasn't.
No.
And you're like, have you heard, let me play you this. And you did play me that creepy voicemail, and it's like, oh, we're friends.
Yeah. I'm gonna play that for people.
Oh God, yes.
So basically the story for those, I think a lot of people are watching online probably have heard it, but back in 2019 I had this desire to get a Ouija board. I didn't have one. Little did I realize there was one in my house the whole time, but that my ex-wife had. So I decided to go to that very creepy paranormal place where you get all the good stuff, Amazon, and I got my Hasbro or whatever, Milton Bradley or whatever it is, Ouija board, and I get in the mail and I set it down, and I put the planchette out there and I sit by it and I asked, is there anyone here to talk with me? And it doesn't move. And I asked a couple other questions, and it doesn't move. I didn't expect it to. And I thought, well, that's just what it is. The next day, I'm at work, and the phone rings. My cell phone rings. The number on my phone is 952-666, and then 4 other numbers. And I'm just looking at my coworker. I show it to her. I'm like, I ain't answering that. And she's like, I don't blame you. And I just thought, well, whatever. And then I see that there's a voicemail. And I am just like, oh boy, I don't know what this is. So what I end up doing is I play the voicemail, and it is without doubt one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. And I want to play that real fast. Once Adam has a moment, I know he's on the phone at the moment, but know that when you hear this voicemail, you might be like, well, it's like a prank call or something. When you listen to this voicemail, just know that this is that I called the phone company afterwards. I called the number. No one answered. It wasn't a real number. I called the phone company. They said they don't do numbers like that. So this is the voicemail that I got. I still have on my phone after I did that. Here it is.
How dare you?
So you got that. And like I said, after I heard that, and it sounds like a little girl. And remember, the day before I did the Ouija board, and it sounds like she says one of two things: how dare you let me out of here, or how dare you let me out again. In fact, the last part seems like both at the same time. It is really bad. Should I play it one more time, Adam?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
How dare you?
So
I hear again.
It sounds more like again.
Yeah.
Other people hear, but there's a little bit more to the story. But we got Lynette on the phone, and let's Lynette, what's your question tonight? Welcome to Ghostbox Radio.
Hi, Greg. I enjoy the show. It's very interesting.
Oh, thank you.
I get excited about these topics. Now, I used to watch, when it was on, the Haunting of Kim Rousseau's show. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about having the connection, or I guess he kind of hung around, was John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah.
Now, she always had the segment at the end where they would, someone was stuck in the light, they'd let them go into the light or something. So I was kind of thinking of that when you were talking about John Wilkes Booth hanging around. Well, obviously, he must not have gone into the light if he's still being bothered, by these things. There's not a lot of love going on there. If he's like mad at you that you're talking about the murder of, the president. So how does, and then now she would always say, Kim Rousseau would say, don't mess with the Ouija board in her Brooklyn accent.
Yep.
And so that sounds kind of scary if you're.
So your question is, why would you do that?
well, I guess I have two questions. I guess my one question is, are you able to, do you have the capacity, or, whatever the level of, spiritual connections, can you release someone like John Wilkes Booth into the light, or they can't go if they don't want to, or
you are absolutely right about that. They can't go unless they want to, and I do believe, it's a theory, it's not, I can't prove it, but my theory is that some people don't cross over for a number of reasons. One of them is that they're afraid of what's waiting for them when they cross over. I personally don't believe that they're going to be judged when they cross over. I think that you kind of create your own adventure, if you will, when if you think that you're going to be judged when you cross over, you just might as well be, but it's not necessarily that's what's going to happen. And I also wonder too, someone like John Wilkes Booth, who has such a gigantic ego, if he stuck around because he wants to see what people said about him. And I think he would have been very disappointed, because even after he did the assassination on Lincoln, he expected to be treated like a hero. And the fact was that wasn't the case at all. He was immediately, there was a manhunt for him. So I think that he was desperately always looking to find people who adored him for what he did, and he never found it. And then going a different direction, there's many people who believe that John Wilkes Booth was never captured, and he lived into the early 20th century. And his body was actually on display at some fairs around the country. It was like a traveling exhibition with him in it as an old man, but basically mummified.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very interesting stuff. And it definitely, I guess my moral to this story is don't do as Greg does, because that was sort of dangerous. And I've done a few things that weren't very smart, and you learn very quickly when not to do them again.
The sad thing is that with our political situation the way it is, there are people that probably would, would idolize John Wilkes Booth. So maybe that's why he hasn't gone into the light, because he's like, look, people do like me, because
I think there's something to it. I think that I very much so, and he has found it, I'm sure, and that's a great point. Lynette, thank you very much for the call. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And that's a great point. And I do think that ego did play a big part in all of that. And it'd be interesting to see. And we've done a number of people, and that was some of them kind of controversial, and I wouldn't necessarily do it again. And then, of course, we had the issue with the aliens, doing the alien spirit box session, which, I think that's still with me. It's still with other people. That was probably not a very good idea, ultimately. So
if the people could see the look I'm giving you now of what the hell were you thinking?
Oh, come on. You are.
I know I would do it.
You were all about it. Don't even give me the, oh gosh, that was dumb. No, you would have been all about it. And we're still going to do a C5 one day.
Okay, I'm down.
But the follow-up to the story about that voicemail was that about a year and a half later, I had a friend stay over with me, and we did what we were calling experimental sessions. We were doing a Facebook live on it, and we had a voodoo doll. Right, this is the gift that keeps on giving, right? We had a voodoo doll as well as that very same Ouija board, and so I played that voicemail, and so sounds stupid say so the Ouija board can hear it, and I said, if you are here, can you show me a sign? If this was you, if you're still here, can you show me a sign that you're still here? Knock on the walls. And once again, I'm in my own house. Do not do this at home. I don't do this at home anymore. Knock on the walls. Do something, please. And nothing. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I didn't expect anything to happen. Jump forward to 7 a.m. the next day. In bed. Crash. Huge crash downstairs. And I'm like, whoa, what was that? And my friend with me, who was dating at the time, she's like, well, that's Linus. I'm like, Linus is right here.
Oh.
So Linus is my cat. So I go downstairs, and there used to be a bunch of trays on top of my refrigerator, and they were all over the ground. Those trays have been on top of that refrigerator for about 16 years because I don't move anything in the house. And so they were all over the floor.
And that's the only time they've moved.
That's the only time they've ever moved. The top of the refrigerator is flat. Mm-hmm. There is no decline for them to slide off. It doesn't, the refrigerator doesn't vibrate where it might be shaking it and nope, none of that. And that was very clearly a message.
Very much so.
And, for people who are out there and they say, well, this stuff, this doesn't really exist. This doesn't really happen. Open your eyes.
It's all around.
It's all around. How many times do you walk past someone that just might be a spirit?
And you have no idea.
You have no idea. And there's stuff that people find in pictures that they don't realize was there, or realize that it was really odd. Like that picture that I shared on Facebook.
At the construction site.
Yep, at the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, as you said, it's a different from a person from a different era.
Oh yeah, when you zoom in, the clothing that you can see definitely does not fit that time period.
No, and that was, I mean, people jump right away and like, well, that's Abraham Lincoln.
No.
Maybe, but I doubt it. I mean, why does it always have to be a famous person?
Exactly. I used to live in Northfield, and there was a hotel next to the radio station I worked at in Northfield. Mark Twain was there for 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you every ghost scene in the Archer house in Northfield is Mark Twain.
Well, and I laugh at myself because I'm like, why is it always a famous person these people find? And here I am. Well, here's Mary Todd Lincoln's voice. John Wilkes Booth was in my house for a week.
But to you, these are voices answering specific questions.
Yeah.
These are photos. This is a second in time.
Yeah. There was, and a great piece of paranormal equipment is my cat Linus, because when I was doing these, Linus would, for people who watch, I'd always pick him up and put him on camera and stuff. And people would be like, they would see him. But when it got to be, and sometimes these sessions turned dark, and we didn't keep doing them once they turned dark. But when they did turn dark, or like in the case of John Wilkes Booth, he would disappear. Now, we also did Lizbeth, and she came through for us. And at one point, because she's a big lover of animals and stuff, I held him up and I said, would you say hi to Linus? And on camera, Linus suddenly, and he's never done this, he jumps back because he's being touched. It's pretty awesome. So as we wrap up here, once again, we're hoping to get Robert Robinson on tomorrow. If we don't, we're going to talk a little bit more. We'll get to Olivia Newton-John tomorrow then, but it's been fun talking about all this stuff. Everyone, have a great night. Have a good Thursday night. We'll see you Friday. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Join me, Tom Hartman, where smart people get their news. The Tom Hartman